Chapter 5. Present Day. The old man pants weakly with exertion as he slowly wades through the cold water of the cave. Glistening beads of sweat decorate his furrowed forehead. He occasionally stops to take ragged breaths before continuing forward. The sound of the walking stick hitting the ground with each step bounces off the walls and ceiling, accompanied by the irregular sound of water dripping. Lysander lets his eyes wander over the place while his black magic keeps him floating above the surface of the water. The tainted magical essence in the atmosphere manifests as luminous orbs cast a green light around them. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees shadows extending long, sharp claws in his direction, but as if merely figments of his imagination, they vanish when he glances their way. The other man breathes laboriously as he steps out of the shallow water and climbs a series of weathered steps. His robe is wet and clings to his ankles, causing him to stumble just as he reaches the top of the stairs. The air leaves his lungs as he hits the ground and drops the walking stick with a loud thud. Lysander lands softly some distance away, his eyes clouded with a disapproving expression. The man winces in pain as he attempts to stand up and accidentally touches his broken finger. Lysander gives the staff a light kick with one foot in his direction. "Make haste," he urges impatiently. Turning around, his eyes narrow as he adjusts the monocle over the bridge of his nose. Taking slow, deliberate steps with his arms extended in pure delight, he approaches a throne built of skeletons and human skulls. A ceramic bowl sits on a pillar next to it. Above the throne, an object hovers in the air, sparkling blood-red fragments pulsating around it. "Finally, I have found it." Behind the throne rests an enormous slab of stone with various symbols and illustrations carved into its surface, including an upside-down eye in the center with a crescent moon above. "Villagers in the nearby areas have disappeared for over 1,000 years. The old man breathes laboredly as he catches up to Lysander and stops next to him. "The old stories say the soul shard has been here since time immemorial, and whispers of its dark god burrowed into their minds. Those who were enslaved took it upon themselves to build this temple until their bodies and minds could no longer bear it." He nods at the skeletons and skulls, and a hissing laugh leaves his chapped lips. "Some of them got to adorn the throne, the others forgotten and buried by the hands of time." The glow of the soul shard reflects in Lysander's red eyes and monocle, his mouth half open as he gazes at it intently. His chest seems to vibrate from within, and his still heart fills with a darkness that both torments and pleases him. "My child from the night, you were not like the other, unworthy beings who met their death at my throne." The telepathic voice invades his mind, causing his lips to curl into a wide smile. "The mystic," it continues to whisper. "Death taps on his shoulder and breathes on his neck. Sacrifice his blood for me. Mercy has no place in your still heart." The old man's raspy voice reaches him. "You need not do this, my boy. Your actions testify that people have done the same atrocities to you, which you do to others. But it is not too late for you. You may be consumed by darkness, but if you find your lost love's pure energy again, she can heal your wounds. Do not use black magic to find her. Instead, use your longing." Memories flash before Lysander. Helena's face was contorted with despair. Her eyes filled with desperate tears as her enraged father had severely beaten him. His vision was hazy from shock and the torrent of his blood flowing down his face. The silver ring that had fallen from his palm during the beating, the ring for which he had saved his meager salary. He had become smitten, consumed with the glow of his burning heart and tantalizing dreams of a life together with the woman carrying the fragrance of roses. And then came the flood of memories of him traveling from village to village, driven by the black magic he had immersed himself in, and by a broken heart that gave the roots of hatred a stronghold in his soul. If he had been a high elf, he would have had to feed on magic daily, but he was half-elf, able to store magic without it depleting when not in use. Instead, he had learnt to drain life from living beings, and to make the dead rise and obey him. By constantly being on the move, he had absorbed more knowledge in black arts and escaped any consequences. Lysander nimbly turns his head towards the old mystic. Traces of fatigue, pain, and pity deepen the furrows of the man's face. Katrine Duleon had had the same tired, dejected look hiding behind her eyes when her illegitimate son had staggered through the cottage door with a heart in 1,000 pieces, beaten to a pulp by Henry Rosehart. A flaring anger masks the shame in Lysander's body. He grabs the man's hair and drags him to the ceramic bowl. The mystic breathes laboredly, but no words leave his lips. The god's telepathic voice settles like a cacophonous blanket over the mind of the vampire. Using his free hand, he pulls out his black dagger. He pushes the man's head and neck down against the edge of the bowl. The mystic gives him a pitying look before a wheezing laugh finds its way out of his throat. With a single, lightning-quick movement, Lysander slices his throat open from one side to the other, making sure the blade carves through the corroded artery. Sanguine liquid fills the bowl and runs down the side of it. Lysander's lips curl into a smile, and he laughs in wicked delight as an immense creature towers before him. He lets go of the man, who is reeling in the final stages of life, and uses black magic to fling him away into a rock face. "Accept my gift to you," he exclaims in euphoria as he turns to the monstrous creature and stretches out his hands towards it. The dark giant god has a half-human body, surrounded by a large number of tentacles, each with sharp claws on the ends. It has no head. Instead, the neck splits in half, and out pours black swirling matter resembling a thick magical mist, adorned with wild eyes. The lower part of the body resembles that of a snake. The sharp spines protrude from the side of the tail's tip. "I am worthy of your power," Lysander continues with heat in his voice. "Let me revel in your soul, and together we shall bend the world to our liking." The soul shard in the air is lowered, while the vision of the god disappears as quickly as it appeared. Lysander stares at the shard, cupping his hands as it hovers before him. His head is pulled back with such strength that his neck almost snaps, his mouth opened wide by an invisible force. It pushes the object down his throat and pulls it into his stomach. Excruciating pain explodes inside him. A gasping sound escapes Lysander's lips as he sinks to his knees with his hands on his stomach, a myriad of images flashing before his eyes. His insides wrestle with something monstrous. "Lysander Duleon, heed my words, and I will share my power with you. Everything you desire shall be yours." The dark god's essence spreads from the shard in Lysander's stomach to his fingertips and toes. Euphoria replaces the melancholy in the innermost corners of his mind for a moment, and suddenly it dawns on him. He no longer remembers the scent of Helena's perfume. The elation quickly blends into bitter despair. "No, I do not want to forget. I do not." The invisible force violently knocks him to the ground, and something heavy rests over his body, pressing him down and forcing him to submit. "Obey me, and I will give you everything you want. Disobey, and I will be the stake that pierces your heart."
"I wish to find her energy. I seek to revive her and experience a future with her where no one raises a hand against me again. Everyone must bow before me."
The words are drawn out from between his lips as if by force. The weight from his body lifts, an echoing voice inside his head. "Your body is now my vessel. Our reign is about to begin." When Lysander gets back on his feet, silence abruptly replaces the echoes. Unwittingly, he finds himself drawn towards the ceramic bowl. As he stares into the blood, an image of a young woman appears in an environment unlike any other. For a moment, a sharp pain stabs his still heart, and he catches his breath. "My eyes are mistaken. It is not her." This woman has longer hair, wears thick-rimmed glasses, and dresses differently. She speaks a tongue he has never heard, yet he understands the meaning. Helena used to always wear a smile on her face, unlike this stranger who looks distrustful, sad, a tormented soul. The dark god's voice once again echoes inside his skull, whispering, "The light flows in her blood, a magic that is deadly to your kind. But if you learn to master it, you will strike fear into the hearts of all. She is not born yet, and when she is, she will take her first breath in a world far from ours. You must capture her attention through a connection, a bridge between the two dimensions. Immerse yourself in my black art, for she is the key to finding the one you seek." The image of the woman blurs, and Lysander takes a step back as the voice in his head fades away. One hand finds its way down to his stomach, and when he touches it, he feels the shape of the soul shard protruding under the skin. The blood ritual has successfully merged them. He turns around and adjusts his white gloves, now stained with dark red blood. There is much to do, plans to forge, and new, dark abilities to learn. The thought of pulling Helena into his embrace intoxicates him, and he smiles softly to himself as he shuts his eyes. This time, finally, he will put a ring on her finger. This has been Blood Ritual, written by C.K. Andersson, narrated by Brandon Francis and Samantha Norbury. Copyright 2023 by C.K. Andersson. Production copyright by C.K. Andersson.